Northern Ireland and Scotland. The countries are home to beautiful landscape, thousands of years of history, stunning architecture, deep-rooted traditions, and very strong people. But the countries are also home to deep-rooted conflict and violence. In Northern Ireland, you have the divide between Catholics and Protestants on whether Northern Ireland should be a part of the UK or the Republic of Ireland, which led to a violent 30-year period of paramilitary war between the two sides. The aftermath is still felt today. And in Scotland, they just had a referendum to decide whether or not Scotland should be a sovereign state free of the UK or whether it should remain a part of the UK. The vote tore people and families apart, creating new conflict. I decided to focus most of my study on Scotland, so let's travel there and find out firsthand what the people think about the independence of their country. First, we'll travel to Glasgow, a place where you're bound to find a strong opinion wherever you turn. So, what exactly is your opinion over the independence of Scotland and the referendum last year?
I think the Scots should be an independent nation. I was a very, very big activist for yes. It's firmly in my belief that Scotland can and will one day be ruled by ourselves. I don't think this union works for Scotland anymore. I think this election result proved that. We saw a Scotland that voted predominantly for us, the SNP, a socialist party, and an England that predominantly voted for a right-wing Conservative party. So you've got an England that's going off to the right and a Scotland that's going to the left. I think that just proves that the union doesn't work right now, because we are being ruled by a party which we didn't vote for in our masses. In Scotland, the SNP got over 50% of the vote, so we had the majority vote, but the Conservative in Scotland only got something like 15% of the vote. Now, overall, the Conservative only got just over 30% of the vote. That means Scotland are not being ruled by a legitimate government they wanted and they chose.
How have you dealt with the fact that you lost the vote?
At the time, it was quite gutting. I don't think I can lie about that. It was really, really heartbreaking, almost. But as a party, we had to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off and say, right, okay, that's done now. We can't just keep dwelling on the past, we need to move forward. And we very, very quickly put a plan in place for the election to happen last week, the Westminster election. We had to move forward from there. And I think the people of Scotland appreciated that and saw that we, as a party, had to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and we also got a very, very strong vote last year. So that's kind of how we had to deal with it. There wasn't much time for dwelling on it. We had to just, right, it's over, move on.
How soon in the future can you see yourself becoming an independent state?
By 2020.
2020.
There's a lot of dubiety about whether the SNP should put another independence referendum in their Scottish Parliament manifesto for next year. I think that it would be a good idea too. I think once the Conservative austerity cuts start falling, I think there will be a big, big outcry for independence, especially, as I said earlier, we are being ruled by a government that we didn't actually want. We didn't choose in our masses to have the Conservative government. They only have one seat in Scotland, so I think that will lead to a big surge for independent support. If you had to ask me personally, when I would want to see an independent referendum, I'd have to say the Scottish people are ready for it. But in an ideal world, between you and me, 2018 is my date for another referendum, 2018.
Thanks, Ross. And now we'll hear from the other side, the side that's not so fond of independence. What's your opinion on the independence of Scotland?
Well, I voted no in the independence referendum.
Why did you vote no?
I voted no because I think Scotland is stronger financially as part of the UK, and I really worry that as an independent country it would go through a great deal of pain becoming an independent country, and I didn't think it was worth the price that pain is worth paying.
So how do you think the people who lost the vote can cope with it? How can they deal with still being in the UK?
Well, that's a good question, because of course 45% of people voted no. Voted yes. And so it was a close result, and that 45% are, a lot of them, convinced that there should be another referendum in the not too distant future.
Do you think maybe this referendum has created more conflict than it's helped get rid of?
Yes. I think the referendum has polarized people within Scotland in a way that they were not previously polarised.
Okay.
I mean, it has created a very healthy debate which has engaged a majority of the voting population,
Okay.
which is good.
Right.
But in so doing, it's exposed people's differences of opinion.
Okay.
And, you know, sometimes people find those differences of opinion hard to deal with. So actually, it has, you know, whilst the debate has been very good, there is certainly less peace and less reconciliation.
Yeah. Do you think there will be another referendum in the near future?
I hope not, because I feel it would be undemocratic.
Okay.
But I recognise that with the shifting political powers at Westminster and possibly next year in the Scottish elections, there could well be an opportunity for the Scottish National Party to bring another referendum into play.
What political party do you represent?
The Communist Party of Britain Scottish Committee.
And what did you vote in the referendum?
Well, the Communist Party nationally throughout Britain called for people to vote no in the referendum on the grounds that there are a number of really substantial economic and political issues that in our judgment, require to be addressed at British level, and in fact can only be addressed at British level.
So you think Scotland should be still part of the UK?
Very much so, but our view is that really our ultimate goal is not simply a change of government, but a change of system. And that, in our views, real independence, if it's to mean anything, real independence can only be on a socialist basis.
Okay. Do you think there will be another referendum sometime in the future?
In the fullness of time, I suspect that there will be another referendum. But again, our view of that is that it would not be a positive development, certainly not from the Communist Party's point of view, a welcome development. And our view is that, you know, the Scottish people have spoken. A vote took place, as you'll be aware, last year. And had it been a yes vote and the no camp had continued to campaign for its position, we would have been told in very no uncertain manner to be quiet. So our view is that the vote's been taking place. Okay. We've had the vote, and we need to, you know, we need to get back to campaigning against austerity and around all the other really, really important issues that affect the British people as a whole, not just the Scottish people.
Last question. Do you think this vote has created more conflict or more peace in the country?
Well, I think if the campaign around the referendum had been a genuine national movement, it would have been a profoundly unifying campaign, unifying movement. Quite the opposite. It split the country down the middle, and that was reflected in the Labour and Trade Union movement, which was very badly split on the question. So, in answer to your question, no, I don't.
What did you vote in the Scottish referendum?
Yes.
Why did you vote yes?
Because it's time we had our freedom. Every other country fights for their freedom. There's wars. We didn't even have that, and we still didn't get our freedom, but we will.
When do you think you will get your freedom?
As soon as David Cameron tries to be cheeky with our First Lady, that'll be it. I can see battles happening again. The swords will come out.
Do you think this referendum's brought about more peace or more conflict overall?
Well, there was no peace at all. There was mostly conflict. Friends, family in Scotland fell out with each other. One voted yes, another one voted no. People weren't speaking to each other. But we noticed at the general election, Scotland is now on the way to freedom.
Do you think Scotland should be independent or remain part of the UK?
I think they should become independent because, for me personally, I'm a supporter of socialism and left-wing politics. So I think that the few should help the many. And in the UK as a whole, we've got a very right-wing leading political party. Scotland itself is very left-wing, and that's not represented in the whole of the UK. So I feel that most Scottish people want socialism, they want to be represented, and that can only be achieved through independence.
Do you think there will be another referendum in the next couple of years or no?
I think a referendum will happen in the next 10 years, but whether that's in 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years, I don't know.
Do you think this referendum has brought around more peace or more conflict?
I think peace and conflict are kind of not in a. It's not brought that in a violent way or anything like that, but it has brought a realisation of a lot of Scottish people that they're not being represented by the current system, and they're able to do something about that by voting for SNP. So Scotland always used to be a Labour, left-wing party place, but the Labour and Conservative, they both came up and they both campaigned for not independence but union, okay? And that kind of rubbed a lot of people up the wrong way in Scotland. So I think that it's created more of a difference. There's more entrenchment in Scotland and England. There's more of an isolation of each country, and that will continue as long as the UK is governed by a right-wing party and Scotland is majority left-wing.
What political party do you represent?
So I was for many years an elected member of the Scottish Parliament for the Labour Party.
And what did you vote in the Scottish referendum in 2014?
I voted no.
And why did you vote no?
I voted no because I think it would send a really sad signal to the rest of the world to say that we're struggling to live on the one island in peace and harmony as the same people that we've always been. There were strongly held views on either side, but I really do think we are stronger together.
Okay. And do you think this referendum's brought around more peace or more conflict overall?
I think it depends on which side of the vote you were on. I mean, part of the evidence is that people who voted yes tend to feel it was very energising. It brought a lot of people into politics. I think if you voted no, you tend to feel it was very divisive. It made families choose which side they were on. So it slightly depends which side you're on as to how you feel about it.
And do you think there will be another referendum sometime in the future, pretty soon, or no?
Well, the commitment given at the referendum was that this would settle it for a generation.
Okay.
So said Alex Salmond, who was the First Minister at the time. So I do hope it's settled for a generation. I think it is possible that there will be another one, as there was in the case of Quebec, but I don't think that will be in the immediate future.
Okay. What political party do you support?
We're inclined towards the Green Party, but we have leanings towards the Scottish National Party. I used to be a member of the Labour Party.
And what did you vote in the Scottish referendum in 2014?
In the referendum, I voted yes in favour of Scottish independence.
And why did you do that?
We felt that in the present situation, the direction which the British government were going and the priorities of the Labour Party as well, the opposition at Westminster, were not in accordance with the sort of social and moral objectives that we are interested in. There's a widening gap between rich and poor. There's a declining commitment to supporting public services, and there's the nuclear deterrent.
So do you think this referendum's brought about more peace or more conflict?
It might have increased the potential for division, but I think underlying all of this, I think it's important to say that this is about not a kind of nationalism that is just about advancing Scotland's self-interest at the expense of someone else. Rather, we see this as a means of achieving wider reconciliation and enabling Scotland more effectively to connect with the wider world and make an enhanced contribution to Europe and to the world beyond that.
So do you think you'll see independence sometime in the near future, or no?
I think given what happened at the general election and the sweeping victory that the Scottish National Party have, I mean, I think it must be closer than it was. But the leader of the Scottish National Party, Nicola Sturgeon, has consistently said that there will be another referendum for independence only when the Scottish people want it. But I think that if the Westminster government doesn't play its cards well, doesn't give Scotland more powers as are promised, any of these things could precipitate independence.
What did you vote in the Scottish referendum?
I voted yes.
And why did you vote yes?
The discrepancy between attitudes in Scotland and attitudes in England has grown so great that it doesn't make any sense for us to be under the same government.
Do Do you think that the referendum has brought around more conflict or more peace overall?
The most important thing that it did was that it awoke the people of Scotland to being engaged with politics.
And now we'll travel to the beautiful city of Edinburgh, where people are not afraid to tell you their opinion on the referendum. What did you vote in the Scottish referendum?
I voted yes to independence.
And why did you vote yes?
I'm a doctor and I work in the public healthcare system, which I passionately believe in. And with the passage of the Health and Social Care Bill for England and Wales, creeping privatisation of the health service, I think, is a major disincentive.
Do you think this referendum's brought around more conflict or more peace overall?
I think what it has brought is more discussion, more people talking about politics, talking about what kind of government they want, talking about how they want their country to be run. It's not about being anti-English.
What do you think the next referendum will be?
My concern is that the referendum will come around again too soon. If it does come again and we vote no again, then I don't think we'll see another one for a long time.
Although Scotland has had its problems, I believe that this referendum has done more good than harm by getting the people talking. The days of violence and bloodshed are behind them for the most part, and whether you're on the yes or the no side, I think you can agree that Scotland is working out its problems in a fair and just manner. Although many obstacles have stood in the way, I believe that Scotland will have its independence within the next 10 years. Thanks for watching.